What was it really like to live in 1960s Britain? Not just the swinging London postcards, Beatles posters, or black and white newsreels, but the real, gritty, everyday life. I often think about what my parents or grandparents experienced, from cramped terraced houses and smoky pubs to the excitement of new music, changing morals, and the first taste of real freedom. In this video, we're going beyond the clichés. We're going to uncover the details you don't always hear about. Stick around to find out how people actually lived, worked, dressed, and dreamed in one of the most transformative decades in British history. In the early 1960s, many homes across Britain still felt like they were stuck in the 1940s. Central heating wasn't common at all. Most homes had just one cold fireplace to heat the whole house, and I remember stories of bedrooms being absolutely freezing in winter. Thick blankets and drafty windows were the norm. Most houses were modest. Terraced homes lined the streets in cities and towns. In villages, cottages had wooden doors, open fires, and sometimes even outdoor toilets, especially in older working-class areas. Kitchens were small, with simple appliances: a cooker, a sink, a larder. Fridges were becoming more common, but many people still used a pantry or a cold cupboard to store food. The living room, often called the sitting room or front room, was the warmest space, where families gathered in the evenings. Television was becoming common, but not in every home yet. Most were rented, not bought, and only showed black and white programs. There were just two channels, BBC and ITV. People would often arrange their evening around what was on the telly. For many, Sundays were sacred. Everything closed. Families sat down for a roast dinner, a simple, predictable routine that gave comfort. Even today, I often hear people remember those cozy family evenings as the true heart of home life. Children growing up in 1960s Britain had a simple, often rough and tumble kind of childhood. Most kids walked to school, often in groups, with satchels on their backs and scuffed shoes. School uniforms were strict: grey skirts or trousers, shirts, blazers, and caps. Many schools still used inkwells and blackboards, and classrooms had that distinct smell of chalk and floor polish. Corporal punishment was still legal, and many children genuinely feared the cane. Teachers were firm, and discipline was tight. Packed lunches were simple: maybe a cheese sandwich, an apple, and a penguin bar. After school, most children played outside. Streets were alive with the sound of skipping ropes, marbles, hopscotch, and football matches using jumpers for goalposts. There were no mobile phones, no tablets. If you wanted to talk to your mate, you simply knocked on their front door and asked, "Is he coming out?" Kids would gather to watch programs like Blue Peter, The Magic Roundabout, and Captain Pugwash. Cartoons were short, British-made, and aired at set times. Children collected things: stamps, cigarette cards, conkers, or bottle tops. A trip to the corner shop with a few pennies could get you gobstoppers, flying saucers, blackjacks, and a paper bag full of cola cubes. I often wish I could go back to that simplicity. Working life in 1960s. Britain was disciplined, predictable, and in many ways tougher than today. For most adults, the day started early, often before 6:00 a.m. Men commonly worked in heavy industries: shipbuilding, coal mining, steelworks, car factories. You'd see streams of workers on bikes or on foot, wearing flat caps, work boots, and overalls. The work was physically demanding and sometimes dangerous. The daily grind meant long hours, often 48 hours a week or more, with Saturday morning still part of the standard working week for many. Health and safety rules were basic at best. Dust, smoke, and the clatter of machines were just part of the atmosphere. Meanwhile, office work was growing in cities. Clerks, typists, and junior managers would ride the bus or train into town wearing suits or smart dresses. Offices were formal places. Men in ties, women in skirts or neat blouses. Smoking was allowed at desks, and the clack of typewriters was constant. Documents were typed on carbon paper. Phones had rotary dials. For many women, paid work was limited or short-lived. Married women often stayed at home, expected to run the household full-time. Those who worked were usually in roles like shop assistants, secretaries, or nurses, and they were almost always paid less than men. Workplaces had a strong sense of routine. Tea breaks were sacred. Unions were powerful. Strikes and walkouts were frequent, especially in the North. For leisure, the pub was the absolute center of adult social life. Men crowded the bar after work for pints of bitter, smoke curling through the air. Women might join on weekends, but many preferred tea with neighbors, chatting over the back fence or hosting card games at home. Sunday was different. It was a day of rest and routine, going to church, then a big family roast dinner. Many shops were closed completely. Streets felt quieter. The day had its own slow, deliberate rhythm. Work and home life were clearly divided in the 1960s. You clocked in, did your job, then switched off once you walked out the gate. No emails, no mobile phones. When you finished work, you were truly done. It was a world of routine and repetition, but also of human contact, strong communities, and clear roles. In the 1960s, the roads of Britain were changing fast. The motorway system had just begun. The first stretch, the Preston Bypass, opened in 1958. By the mid-1960s, motorways like the M1 and M6 were growing, but most driving was still on narrow, winding A roads. For families that had a car, it might be a Morris Minor, Austin Cambridge, Ford Anglia, or Mini. Seatbelts weren't compulsory yet. Most families only had one car, if any. And many still relied on buses, trams, and trains. Red double-decker buses filled the cities. Conductors roamed the aisle with a ticket machine strapped to their waist. Getting the front seat upstairs felt like a real treat. Trains were powered by steam at the start of the decade, but diesel and electric soon took over. British Railways was being restructured. Many rural lines were shut down after the beaching cuts, but train journeys were still a major way of getting around, especially for longer trips. Holidays for most families meant trips to the seaside. Blackpool, Brighton, Scarborough, and Skegness were popular destinations. You packed the family into the car or took the train with sandwiches, a thermos, and maybe a newspaper for Dad. Going abroad was rare. Only wealthier families could afford trips to France or Spain in the early 1960s. Shopping in 1960s Britain was a completely different experience from today. Forget giant supermarkets and self-checkouts. Most people did their shopping in small local shops, often visiting several in one trip. You'd pop into the greengrocer for your vegetables, the butcher for meat, the fishmonger for fish, and the baker for fresh bread. Each shopkeeper knew your name. There were no barcodes or scanners. Items were weighed on big scales, prices chalked up on blackboards, and change counted carefully by hand. Corner shops were vital, staying open later than others and selling everything from tinned soup to sweets. Woolworths was a national treasure for many families, a place where you could buy toys, clothes, household goods, and pick and mix sweets all under one roof. Open-air markets were also popular with stall holders shouting their deals. You'd see baskets of shiny apples, paper bags of potatoes, and trays of fresh eggs. It was noisy and busy, but it felt personal.